One of the greatest joys in my life is walking into a thrift store, picking up a movie I've never heard of before, getting a copy that most people would look past, putting it on and realizing I've stumbled onto one of the great cinema secrets, or maybe not a secret, but something that many people haven't ever heard of or won't ever experience, and knowing that I have the opportunity to come on YouTube, share it with someone who's probably not heard of it, and hopefully that person will watch the film and enjoy it as much as I did. The Goddess from 1934, and I have my copy of a DVD here. This is where I found this in the thrift store. The Goddess from 1934 is as good as anything I've seen from the silent era, from the 1930s. It is a tremendous achievement of cinematic history. It's as relevant today as it ever has been. And I was truly stunned and blown away by how much I loved this film. I expected it to be pretty good based on what I read about it, but I had never heard of it, or at least that I can remember, up until I just picked it up off the shelf and looked into it. Now, this is a very important film from Chinese cinema history that I had not heard of. So if you don't know anything about The Goddess, this is my DVD copy, and I have what was awesome was I was able to get a pack that has a book with it. So if I would encourage just buying this online. It's not super expensive, but I got it for $5. This comes with, so this actress, Ruin Lingyu, was a very popular, successful actress, and she's tremendous in this film. And she did, unfortunately, her life was ended in a tragic way. You can read about that in this, if you got to get this biography here from Richard Meyer, which I've looked at a little bit of this. It's a really nice copy of this. But the DVD, so I have the DVD here, and this is available online. And I'll leave the link for you on YouTube so that you can watch it for free if you haven't seen it. And then you may want to actually come back and look at the review, or you can watch it now. I'm not spoiling anything big, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on the film, because it's under an hour and a half. It's a short film, but it's an important and a powerful one. So this woman, who we learn doesn't have a husband. Eventually you learn why, but I won't tell you at first. She doesn't have a husband. She's living in Shanghai. She has to provide for her son. It's a simple story on the surface anyway. You know, she's forced to sell her body, become a prostitute, but the film doesn't linger on that, and it's not judgmental at all of that. In fact, it's not judgmental of any character, really, even some of the bad ones. Along the way, she runs into some kind of a gangster boss or a gambling boss. I don't know the context well enough to say exactly what his role is, other than that he's powerful, he has money, and he's kind of mean. Although, again, even with that character, the film isn't overly judgmental. And eventually she's able to get her son, into school, and some problems arise at school. And there's a principal of that school who also has to come in and make a series of difficult moral decisions concerning the child's education. And a lot of the film is watching her just try to take care of her son in conditions that are far less than ideal. Now, this is a film that has such a good, warm moral center that it's impossible to watch this and not feel inspired. This is a film that has so much to say about society, how we treat others, how we treat people different than us. And in a time, I'm filming this in 2026. I'm filming this in a time when many folks believe that the world will be the best place ever if we just have a pile of traditional families, and that all families can succeed traditionally. This film shows us what prejudices can do to communities, to children, and I also think it's just a downright beautiful film. You know, there are lots of shots of this woman looking out into the city, this darkness of these buildings illuminated by small lights that blink, and it feels hopeless for her at times through long shots. There was a point in this film where I thought this is going to be misanthropic and deterministic purely, And that would have been fine with me, but it's not. It leaves you with something of a kind of a hope and the idea that human beings, if they try, can be better. And I love each character in this, each main character. The main actress, Ren Lingyu, the way this is shot, she's so composed in the beginning. She's never dressed to look particularly provocative. She's always pretty much fully, like, just clothed from the top to bottom. It has an interesting effect on the film. But as she goes along, you can see her start to unravel, and there's a visual aspect to that as you see the way the makeup and her hair and so forth is done. It's really clever stuff. This does not feel like a film from the early days of cinema that's sort of trying to find its sea legs. This feels like a mature, sophisticated work that not only is it one of the best films I've seen from the 30s, this is one of the best films I've ever seen, period, at least in my opinion, especially at that length and for that content, because there's something in this film that feels to me a lot like Yasujiro Ozu. I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know this, if you know this, you can tell me, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ozu saw this and fell in love with it. It has that energy. It has that storytelling power, that moral center that's just so inspiring. The boss character, this gangster, he tries to play a tough guy. He thinks he is, but he still doesn't quite have the bravery, the guts of the mother. Now, he throws his weight around. He's a big guy. He has a creepy grin. It's really effective, really good shots of him close up with his grin. But he just doesn't have the courage of the mother. There are very few characters who I think display that level of courage that this mother does in this film. And the principal is one of the most important characters in the film. It helps balance out some of the ideas really well. The actual characters who I think received the most judgment in the film are members of the community and how they react to this woman. Some of this feels a little bit like if you've ever read sections of the Bible where folks, casually dismiss or are scornful of prostitutes. Like that Jesus doesn't like that. It has that kind of energy. So it's a little bit almost like religious in a way. But so the restraint on the judgment in this film is incredible. The forward thinking, especially concerning how we educate our youth. How do we see what do we see as being the purpose of education? Who deserves an education? Does a prostitute's child deserve education? Well, of course. Every child does. And some films get so syrupy sweet with that idea that they become ineffective. This one never does. It gently leads you into each emotion, and boy, does it earn them, especially toward the end. This is the most gut punch I have felt in a film in a long time. Just a pure emotional reaction to a film, and I absolutely love it. And I wanted to make a video because I think this is one of the most important works I have seen about rights that women should have. Single mothers in general. I'm actually watching this tomorrow's Mother's Day, so it's coming at a I don't know if that was coincidence that someone was like, hey, let me gift this copy to a thrift store, and then maybe someone will watch it for Mother's Day. I have no idea, but it's interesting how that timing works out. I'm myself, I'm adopted, okay? And I have a family circumstance that's a little unusual because of that. And I can kind of relate to any non-traditional family structure. And I would think that anybody who has been involved with a divorce or a spouse, one spouse or the other is missing from the family for some reason when that wasn't necessarily intended, or any family structure that deviates from the quote norm, this is a film for you. It's a timeless, poignant, beautiful work that I absolutely am in love with. This might even make my top 100 list. I'll have to think about it. But if you're able to get, but two options, I will leave that DVD, not DVD, I will leave the movie link for you so that you can watch it on YouTube if you want, which I highly encourage you do. But there's also, you can get this pack. I found it wasn't that expensive on eBay and stuff when I looked it up, but I was lucky to get it for $5. What I have here is from the Hong Kong University Press. The book was written, like I said, by Richard Meyer, and then you get the DVD with it. The DVD I had, the frame, there was a lot of shaking on the frame. There are some spots where you can tell the print was in really, really rough condition. That didn't bother me at all. I just didn't think it mattered. The film's just that good. But you may want to look into this, and particularly if you like film study, and if you love films from the 30s, I would definitely check it out. Those are my immediate thoughts. I would suspect I will be revisiting this, and if there's, if we talk about films I would love to see in the Criterion Collection or get a boutique release. Maybe there's one out there somewhere, I don't know, but this would be one. This would absolutely be one. And gosh, this kid's lovable in this film. Oh man. It's so hard to have likable, complete, great performances from child actors. That's always underrated when you look at a classic film, and man, it just works here. So those are my thoughts. If you found this conversation helpful, do me a favor, click the thumbs up button. Do watch the film. Like I said, I've got the YouTube link if you want to see it. And if you want to give a comment either before or after seeing it, that would be great. And if you like conversations about foreign films, about classic films, important films in cinema history, you have to subscribe to Cody in the Cinema.